Good morning. Redhead Whisky here, and it's a really big honor for me to interview Barry MacAaffer, former Distillery Manager of Laphroaig, and been in Laphroaig for over 13 years. So thank you so much, Barry, for joining us.
Not at all. Thanks for having me on.
So Barry, you're where are you right now? Which time zone in the world?
I'm in Glasgow, so I'm in UK time. I'm just heading home direction, Isla direction. So I'll be there tonight.
And you're finishing a very big chapter in your life, and you're moving on to the next one in Korea, I believe.
Yes, it's been an amazing chapter. It's been the biggest chapter of my life, I guess. But the time was right for me to take up or start a new chapter, I guess. And it's taken me to South Korea, to Seoul.
13 years of Laphroaig. I remember seeing a video of you and John Campbell when he says that he was working for your dad, and you kept interrupting him with the the boats, and being a very being an innovative kid. I think you got into Laphroaig for a temporary role.
That's correct. There was somebody going off on long-term sickness, and John Campbell had phoned me up and said they were looking for cover. He knew I was working for my dad. I was actually painting distilleries. I was painting Ardbeg Distillery at the time.
Oh.
That's what I was doing with my dad. My dad first started painting Ardbeg about 25 years ago. Back then it was black. It took us a long time to make it white.
The entire worlds were black?
Pretty much, yeah. There wasn't much white about the site back then. And John just phoned me up and asked if I fancied covering some sickness leave. And that was it. I was kind of back on Isla at the time. My trade was a dental technician. And I was back in Isla trying to kind of raise some funds and money to build my dental lab. And then I started as an agency worker at Laphroaig, and it morphed into a full-time role pretty quick. I think it was just maybe 6 months I was there as an agency worker. When I started on the malt floors, I thought, this is great. I'm going to be able to save money to build my own dental lab. And I think after a month, maybe 2 months, I had forgotten all about the dental lab. It was just, this was my new future, the whiskey industry. I just fell in love with it straight away.
What in it made you feel that? What happened? What's the change inside?
Well, one of the major factors was the team that I went into. It was so much fun. I'd never had so much fun at work. It was just great. I enjoyed the work. I enjoyed, learning about how whiskey was made. I couldn't believe that it'd been on my doorstep my whole life, and it was never really. I never even looked in that direction before then. It was a strange one. But no, once I got in there and started, it was this is definitely my future.
So you got into a temporary role, and then you stayed and you became distillery manager. So that sounds like Bessie. So I don't know if you know about any kind of temporary jobs opening now I could apply to and become on my way in 13 years. I mean, you've done many, many, many roles. Which part of the job did you like most?
One of my things I really enjoy is learning new skills and learning new things. And each time I moved into a new role, I loved it because it was just all new. It was on the job learning. So each time I moved, I felt like, oh wow, this is even better. This is even better. But moving into the manager's role, that was special. I really enjoyed that. I thought that was going to be me for a long time. Just opportunities came up, and I've always had this itch to experience a new culture, live in a new culture. I've been in Ireland my whole life, or most of it, so it was good timing. The timings were just right. Yeah.
So you introduced, I think, more floor malting into the process. I know that Laphroaig is doing 15% or more. So what's your view on floor malting and its role in shaping Whisky.
I can't talk for it, whisky in general, but I can talk to Laphroaig. It is a key component in Laphroaig's DNA. There's a huge amount of influence comes from what used to be 15% in the mash bill. It's now about 21% for malts in the mash bill. We increased it by we increased the floor malts by 50% in 2023. That was the main driver behind that was we want to make more floor malt, and there's also a peated malt shortage in Scotland. So that was the main driver behind that. The Maltings team that are there was 4 Maltings operators. There's now 6 working more days in the week, I guess. Hard working, I have to say, it is hard working there. And they've done a great job of supporting the distillery, getting it up to 6 floors a week instead of 4. So yeah, it did increase, and it plays a huge key part, especially at Laphroaig, and its flavour profile. It's massive. If you ever tasted Laphroaig or those that you make when there's no floor malt included, you would sense the difference. And vice
Right.
versa, when you nose it or taste it when it's 100% floor malt, it's an incredible whiskey. Sure.
How do you balance maintaining a heritage of Laphroaig and a certain profile of flavors together with innovation and doing things a little differently and playing with the palate?
I guess one of the things, a lot of innovation on Isla, or I can't speak for the whole Isla. At Laphroaig, what I found is that living on Isla is always a challenge. And if there's no ferries, if there's breakdowns, if there's power cuts, that tends to lead to a lot of innovation. So you have to sometimes be creative. Sometimes you don't have the resources, the normal resources available to you, so you have to be resourceful. And that tends to lead to a lot of innovation. Sometimes the peated malt that we would buy in wouldn't arrive by ferry, so okay, we're going to have to up the Laphroaig malt percent. So you do find yourself playing a wee bit around, and I guess when you do go off I guess what you could call the beaten track, or away from the norm, you separate these casks, you fill all that, and you make into casks, and you mark them on the system to watch for the future, to see how they evolve. So that's honestly where a lot of innovation is born from on Isla. It's being resourceful, I guess.
So how do you explain the cult that there is following the peat of Laphroaig?
I can't explain it. Honestly, I can't. It's an amazing. The Friends of Laphroaig's an amazing following. Anytime I meet up with them in any markets, or I met them in Laphroaig, they're all so passionate, and it's hard to. I didn't know why they were so passionate, but when I look at me, I was the same. So, and I can't explain it. So I don't know. I really, really don't know. It's such a unique, distinctive flavour, Laphroaig. And it certainly does bang down the door of love and hate. And yes, to answer your question, yes, I get asked many times, why is this 10-year-old different to that 10-year-old? Or I prefer this one to this one. So that's the amazing thing about whiskey. That's the amazing thing. Palates are different. Whiskey's different.
So you've been in the industry for a very long time. When you're looking at the market and the consumers, how has it changed, and where do you see it going?
In the whiskey world, I've probably not been in the industry for all that long. I've worked with people who've been in over 40 years. But in my time, the biggest shift and change I've seen is the kind of demographic that we see visiting the distillery and drinking whiskey. It's a much more diverse audience I see, which is fantastic. I think in the past, I was talking about this with someone, and we were thinking, in the past, a lot of people maybe were led by what their parents drank, or if I seen my dad drinking lager and white Mackay, that would maybe tend to be what I would start drinking. But it seems like nowadays that's not the case at all. People are drinking whatever they want, and even more, I've feel and I hear a lot of people looking for transparency. They just want to know more than just the flavour. They want to know what's in it, how is it made, where was it made, where was it. They want all the detail. And I think I found in the past, one of the good things about Laphroaig was that they shared a lot of this information with the Friends of Laphroaig. They were very transparent and open what exactly was in the bottle, the age of the casks, the amount of casks that were used, how many times the casks were used. So I hope that continues, that transparency, because it's really important.
So, speaking of that, can you share a little bit about the process of getting into elements, choosing the element series, and how did you get to that?
There's a couple of things. We had this amazing, liquid in casks that didn't fall under the umbrella of the kind of core range. It didn't fall because it was so different. And whether it was trials that were running in the past, or whether it was, born out of there's no ferries, so we're going to have to be creative, or there's power cuts, so we're going to have to be creative, or there's heating tanks collapsed, so we're going to have to be creative. There was lots of different ways. So this liquid was very different, and we felt that it was certainly good enough to be a Laphroaig. That was certainly all. I was always conscious. I always felt like there's lots of good whiskey, but I used to always ask the question: is it good enough to be a Laphroaig? Is this good enough to be a release to put the Laphroaig name on? And the elements there were some really fantastic batches, I guess you could call it, or parcels of casks. And there was a kind of gap in Laphroaig's kind of core range, I guess you could call it. You had your lower, your 10s, quarter casks. There was Cairdeas. There was nothing really in between that and all the way up to 25, I think it was. So there was a wee kind of gap in its portfolio there that elements kind of sat perfectly in.
Out of all Laphroaig's releases ever, what is your favorite?
There's a couple, but there was a 1974 31-year-old. You ever see it somewhere? It won't be very cheap, but it's absolutely incredible whiskey. One of my best whiskies I've ever tried in my life. Amazing. More recent times, from the kind of, I love the 10 cask strength. I love lower. I've really, really enjoyed, one of the biggest things I enjoyed my whole time at Laphroaig was getting to create Cairdeas. That was special, yeah. And I loved maybe I'm biased. Well, I am, but everyone's biased on their own little things. But I did love the Cairdeas that I kind of signed off on. I loved that one.
So tell us a little bit about Cairdeas. That's that's my top favorite release. It's May, and I'm May born, and I love the innovation behind it and the playing. What does that process look like?
It is a long process. If you want a good finish on your cask, you need to be planning 18 months kind of in advance. So working with the master blender in the past, Callum was great to work with, Callum Fraser, because he was very open to trying new things, and he was very open to creating something new and something special. He was very passionate about it, so that made that side of the job really easy. It was quite similar to myself, Callum, where it's okay, let's make something fantastic and let's make it something special. And I guess that's where Cairdeas 2024 kind of came from. There was lots of things going on in my head. It was like, right, it's a 30-year anniversary. And speaking to people in the markets and speaking to people, taking all their feedback on board, there's a few things that people wanted to see. An age statement. It didn't even have to be an old age statement, just put the age statement on the bottle.
Yeah.
I used to get asked a lot why the triple wood was discontinued. People loved the PX release, the Cairdeas PX.
Yeah.
And well, everyone loves 10-year-old. Laphroaig drinkers, 10-year-olds, they're kind of staple.
It is.
Let's take 10, take PX, take triple wood, take all these things, and we can combine it into a kind of special cartridge. And that's kind of where that one came from. So it's exciting. It was fun. It was really fun part of the job. You know, I would look forward to the sessions with Callum sitting down in the, in his blended lab and going through a lot of the options. It was really good.
In my next life, when I'm going to be a distillery manager, can you give us some tips on, what does it take to be a good distillery manager? What
I don't know. Ask Ian McAllister what it takes to get or John. I don't know. I think I was passionate about the brand, and I was passionate about the team. And I always ask myself, before we do anything, ears are popping out, before we make any decision or change, I learned this from John Campbell, to always ask myself, is it right for Laphroaig? Is it good for the team? Is it good for the brand? And does it look for Laphroaig's future? Is it right for the community? That was always an important question to ask ourselves. And one of the main ones, is it sustainable? Are we doing it just because it's going to help for this year, or is it something sustainable as change? These are always the key questions that I would ask myself and our team, management team, before we then make any big, crucial changes. Like the floor maltings is a really good example. Is it good for the brand? It's fantastic. It's going to give more of that Laphroaig flavour in the bottle. Okay. Is it good for the community? Yep, because we're creating 2 more jobs. Is it sustainable? Yeah, these jobs are going to be full time. And is it good for the team? Yep, the team are getting more people in. It helps with the resource. So it ticked all the boxes, and it made the decision really easy to move forward with that one.
Wonderful. So one last question. Can you tell us a little bit about your next chapter and, taking all that wealth of information to a new world?
Yes, I can. So we're heading to Seoul, and it's a company called Brewguru. They started off with beers that they're very popular right now with RTDs, the ready to drinks, the highball cans. And they have a huge passion and love for single malt whiskey. So they've built a distillery, and I guess invited me out to set it up and create a single malt. We want to create a number of different whiskies. We're going to create a blended whiskey that they can use on their highball production line. We're going to aim to create a Korean single malt using as much Korean, produce and products, ingredients as possible. And also we'll certainly play with some peated malt from Scotland. I can't go all the way out there and not take some peated malt with me. So
in the suitcase.
Yeah, I'll pack it in.
Yeah.
So there's lots of different ideas and plans going around. We've got some really exciting plans, which I can't really share at the moment. But as soon as we can, I can't wait to share them.
Sounds very exciting. Very exciting.
Yeah, they're a really passionate young company. They're really ambitious, and they match my ambition, I guess. They just want to create and learn and do something new. And as amazing as my time was at Laphroaig, getting to create it or keeping the standards high was the main job for the distillery managers. Is always keep that standard high. This is almost the opposite. Now I get to go with a blank canvas. The canvas was already written at Laphroaig. It was a case of following it, and that was fantastic. I learned a lot, learned everything. But now I love being creative, and now I've got a blank canvas. So that's what I'm very excited for.
So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Is there anything that I didn't ask that?
No, just the only thing I'd like to add is I went for a pint of Guinness with a good friend, George Campbell, You grew up in Islay together. Just want to wish him all the best in his new role as a distillery manager at Laphroaig.
Oh, okay.
So he'll be fantastic. He's a great guy, and just wish him all the best.
Wonderful. Okay. Thank you so much, Barry. Again, a big honor
Thank
for
you.
me. And thank you for your creations. You know, these are things that are bringing people together. I'm, serious about it. I'm looking at Laphroaig. I'm looking at Friends of Laphroaig. The ability to maintain that passion and community, that's remarkable.
Well, we kind of cheat in the US because we've got Simon Brook in there, and he's amazing. So he's the glue that holds a lot of these groups and friendships together. He absolutely is.
Wonderful. So thank you so much for giving this to us.
No problem. It's lovely chatting.
Thank you so much. Good luck. We'll be following you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.